Hey, this is Soldier 7 here reporting for Right Wing Federation, and this is going to be more on the protests in Cuba. Now, in the previous video, I didn't necessarily talk about everything, although I'm probably going to still talk about some things that I did in the previous one. But I'm just going to start out one particularly was the embargo. Like, for example, in the previous video, I said, why does the U.S. embargo have to do with some of the problems going on in Cuba, which have been going on for quite a long time? What does the embargo have to do with it? Because like I said in the previous video, there are 40 other countries that Cuba can look to for trade, import, export, and so forth, right? I mean, it's not just, communist countries. I mean, there's European countries, there's African countries, Latin American countries, which they can do business with. Yet it's still the same way. Why does the U.S. have to be the one? I just don't get it. Now, whether if you're for it or not, that's just something worth asking. And then you have some people that are saying, or at least used to say, well, the United States used to threaten or push these countries not to do business with Cuba. Well, obviously that didn't work, because from what I understand, Cuba did rely on tourist attractions, like from countries like Canada and so forth, and the UK maybe. So, yeah, I don't know if the embargo had anything to do with that or not, but if it did, obviously it didn't work. So, yeah, that's a little fucked up if you're saying that's the problem. Is that the U.S. will threaten other countries if they do business with Cuba? Well, obviously it doesn't work if that's true. And I did talk about, some people like the so-called tankies saying, oh, the protests in Cuba, it's a CIA thing, it's a right-wing thing or whatever, which I seriously doubt when you got people like I said, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Bernie Sanders, AOC, and the rest of the squad within the government and having somewhat of a huge influence on how things are working and everything. Yeah, I kind of find that a little hard to believe. Maybe Venezuela, but even I didn't believe that. Like, yes, I understand the U.S. has a history of that, but, and I agree it's not right, but still, like, I have a hard time believing it in this case. So yeah, enough of that. I was also going to talk about the DHS secretary who's made a statement on telling Cubans not to come here. Now, I wonder why is that? Now, the people who are at the border, which are mostly like from Mexico and Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, El Salvador, and so forth, and other countries, it's okay for them to be here, but it's not okay for the Cubans. Now, for the record, anybody, regardless if it's, seeking asylum or not, I mean, if you're gonna come to this country, yes, but do it legally, and it's obvious a lot of these people are trying to enter this country illegally. Like, it's not legal what they're trying to do by entering the country. And I'm not talking about, the cages at the border or anything, but yeah, you got a lot of those people who don't want to come here legally. But as for the Cuban refugees, well, I think, unlike Mexico, Cubans can seek asylum, they can go through a different process. But here's the thing, why is it all of a sudden like the Democrats are okay with other people from other countries coming here, but not the Cubans? Is it because they vote differently when they get here? I don't know, because from what I do understand, many Cuban Americans, if not for the most part, intend to vote Republican. Now, I'm not saying all of them do, but it does seem like the majority of Cuban Americans intend to vote Republican. even though the younger generation is probably starting to lean more towards the Democrats. It's kind of like the same thing with the Vietnamese Americans. When they got here, they started voting Republican. And then the younger generation started leaning more towards the Democratic Party. But then again, a 20-year-old American of Vietnamese or Cuban heritage is probably not the same way as a 20-year-old Vietnamese or Cuban who just got here off a boat. Well, I don't know about the Vietnamese. We haven't heard a whole lot about them since the end of the Vietnam War. Immigrating here, I'm sure some still do, but as for the Cubans, yeah, that seems to be a whole different story. But yeah. Now, I know some people are calling out hypocrisy. Like some people are saying like Republicans, conservatives, and libertarians and people on the right are being hypocrites because they're calling out the Democrats for like, especially the DHS secretary for telling the Cubans to go back home. And here's the thing. I mean, it's one thing if you're just against people coming here illegally entirely, or if you just don't think it's a good idea for people to come here at this time, given all the trouble and everything going on around the nation and even the globe. So, I mean, that's one thing, but then to be like, just okay, we'll let these people come here, but we won't let these people come here, even if these people are more willing to legally, but these people probably aren't. We're still going to let the people that are less likely to do it illegally to come in, but the people that do it legally, no, we're going to tell them not to come here. And like I said, I know the Cubans can seek asylum. I know their process is a little more different than other countries. I understand that. But like, it's just kind of mind blowing that it is kind of, talking about hypocrisy, and both sides are guilty of it, both the left and the right. I just don't want to make this about Democrat and Republican. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about that also. Like, I just kind of think it's ridiculous. Like, yeah, because you have the Democrats who claim to act like they're for open borders, but some Cubans who may want to come to America because of the protests and the way life is, thanks to communism, I may add, all of a sudden it's not okay for them to come over here. All of a sudden now. Anyway, I'm probably just going to leave it there. I don't want to make this video too long, but yeah, that's all I got to say for right now. This is Soldier 7. Thanks for listening.